Welcome, everybody. It is time to start. And I hope that we have Jean-Paul with us as well.
I'm there.
You are there. Good. Everybody who is here tonight are customers of Better Globe, as am I. And my name is Helena Roth. I've been a customer since 2015. And there's probably some of you who have bought trees long before that, and there might be some who bought their first tree today. Regardless of that, you are greatly welcome here for this 1 hour long Q&A.
Thank you.
With Jean-Paul Deprins, who is CEO of Better Globe Forestry down in Kenya. And I was lucky enough to meet Jean-Paul in June of 2019, last year, when I attended the customer trip down to visit the Better Globe Forestry business, the setup, the plantations, meeting partner farmers, being at the headquarters, and meeting Jean-Paul, who is acting CEO of Better Globe Forestry. So I and all the other 140 people here would like to thank you for coming, because you are live from Kenya. Is that right?
That is correct.
That is correct. So I would like to start off with a question asking you, why did you choose to become CEO of Better Globe Forestry?
Hey, Elena, I didn't choose, I was chosen. I was just minding my own business, and Reno came along and said, Jean-Paul, I have a project, it's fantastic, it's social entrepreneurship, it's a lot of good things, and with his usual enthusiasm, he convinced me very fast to take over that role.
See there. But you have been involved ever since the start, is that right?
That is correct. I started up the company in Kenya.
In Kenya. And when was this?
Well, we incorporated Better Globe Forestry in November 2004, and we planted our first trees in 2007. There was a lot of preparations to do and things. So since 2004.
2004. You mentioned social entrepreneurship, and I'm thinking maybe people think, well, this is a forestry company, and it is, but it's more than that, right?
Well, it is evident that one cannot set up a forestry project that is changing dramatically the environment and the life of people where you are. It is huge, it is big, it requires a lot of inputs, a lot of people, and there is no way forestry can exist, happen, without taking care of the people and the social environment. And that is actually the beauty of the project, because in every decision that we take, we have to take the people into consideration. There is no way to win that battle without having the community with the project.
So would you tell me then, what impact does Better Globe Forestry do for that community?
Well, it depends, of course, the community. That is a very big word, and there are different communities according to the different projects. But as a start, we started our Kiambere project, and of course, the very first and direct impact is that we started an industry in an area where people are very, very poor, and where actually there is no other industry, there is no other business, there is nothing else happening. They are a little bit forgotten. So if we can start a forestry project that uses between, let's say, depending on the season, 100 to 200, 250 people in an operation, that makes a huge difference for the community. Then, moreover, when trees grow, there are different interactions with the people. Very simple one, like allowing them to cut grass for their cattle, or let their cattle be within the trees. more indirect ones where, sometimes we have to work on the access roads, and that is of course beneficial for the people also. We also have the program of water donations. That means that in some cases we can intervene and do some things for the community, make certain that simple things, water tanks and things like this. Then, of course, one of the flagships of Better Globe, and by extension Better Globe Forestry, is the microfinance, from which we have set up 2 village banks. We should have got the third one running now, but Corona came first. But it is only delayed. The money is there is a provision. The money is there. We can just push that button and start. So I can talk a longer time about different impacts. We also, at a certain moment in the course of our operations, decided to work with farmers, meaning not only our own plantation, but what is really going to make a difference for the people is that we are working with partner farmers. We give them a contract, and we give them a, sorry, I'm going to decline this. We give them a contract, we give them a contract that not only allows them to benefit from support, to benefit from training, to benefit from different things, but also that guarantees that at the end, when the trees will be mature, we will buy the trees, because it will be the input for the processing anyway. So they are not just planting, they are planting with the market inside. So I think all this together can qualify as social entrepreneurship.
Yeah, most definitely. So you mentioned Kiambera, which is the first plantation.
Yes, that is correct.
And you started planting there in 2006, I believe?
Yeah, end of the year 2006, actually full time 2007.
Yeah. So if you look at the environment around the Kiambera plantation, what impact has this plantation had on the environment?
Well, like I said, there was nothing there except maybe Kengen, who is an electricity generating company, and which at that time had no social, would I say, program for that area. I have to say this has changed. They have a youth social program for which we are part, by the way. But people had to read, and also the hiring capacity of Kengen also has an end. I mean, there are many people around, and not so many that could have a work. So for us coming there and giving people a job had a huge impact. Environmental wise, that has been a complete change, because as you know, Better Globe Forestry has chosen with the future in mind that we are going to work in arid and semi-arid land. That is a challenge. That is not easy. When we started, many people told us we were crazy. Some said it cannot be done. But we kept believing, and we kept working on fine-tuning the knowledge that we have, the procedures to get things done. We got the right partners that actually first observed this, but then we became more and more enthusiastic of our project, like Kenya Forestry Research Institute, like the Kenya Forestry Service, several ICRAF, several institutions that were willing to help us, and that really brought us on or kept us on the right track. It has been a roller coaster, but a very interesting one for the people also. And we did actually a social investigation. We put some people on that, and the way Better Globe Forestry is perceived is really very positive.
And I know that besides doing plantations, you have a couple of plantations, but you've also recently, since what, 5 years, maybe 6, started to work with partner farmers.
That is
And
correct.
I'm curious to see the difference that you can tell that has made in sort of the partner community. What's the shift that's apparent to you?
You see, when we started to working with partner farmers in the beginning, we had to convince them because, like in many places, they had been approached by NGOs who wants to do good, but they never have a long-term plan. And they understood first by the fact that we already were all these years in Kiambere, and also when they understood our program and our model, that we are there to stay, that it is long-term thinking, and that we are together. We are really partners. We take the good and the bad as it comes, talking about weather and other things. So that changed a lot for them also, because the interaction is actually permanent. We have a whole team of guys going to visit them and regularly taking stock of how they are doing, giving training, bring them together. We have the authorities with us, the chief, the sub-chiefs, many of them that are farmers themselves. So it is not only a list of partner farmers, it is a movement that has been created where people talk with each other. We are now fine-tuning all these things, because one starts these things in a very enthusiastic way, but you have to learn as you go. And now we actually going to the next stage where we are grouping the farmers, where we are creating Better Globe Forestry farmer groups that are actually bringing together, let's say, 20 to 25 farmers, and that support each other, that help each other, that we can train as a group, that we are going to legalize if they can actually live to the standards that we ask them to maintain for the trees. And that will allow them also to negotiate better loans with the microfinance, that allows them to get access in a later stage to carbon compensation. It has a lot of advantages. Again, we couldn't start with that if you don't have the confidence. Now these are things that we can initiate. So you see, it is a work in progress.
It is a work in progress, and I'm very happy that you say that this is a movement, because it truly is. And I'm so thrilled to hear about this sort of formation of mastermind groups for the partner farmers, smaller groups where everybody can sort of chip in. That's just amazing. So to our listeners, you can ask questions in the chat, and we will pick up on them, and then I can ask them to Jean-Paul. And we have our first reader question or listener question from Marcus. Write the questions in the Q&A. Marcus says, how many plantations or areas with partner farmers does Better Globe Forestry have?
Yeah, well, with partner farmers, you don't talk about plantations. They are all individual farmers. But I can tell you, I knew this question would come, so I have asked that I would be briefed. Today, okay, now you have to know, whatever figure I give you, it is always moving. Tomorrow we will have more, and but in Seven Forks, that is in Kenya, today we have 6,466 farmers that signed a contract. And from these ones, 3,433 planted, minimum 160 trees. And we still have 3,033 because you first register and then you deliver. So it is a rolling movement that are there, that have signed a contract and that are in the pipeline. The things are a bit more easy in Uganda because it is a completely other environment. In Uganda, these are the figures of the 31st of December 2019. In Uganda, at that time, we had 10,285 contract farmers. It goes faster, it is easier. We are together with an organization that had already brought farmers together, so that helped us. And from these ones, 9,908 have been planting trees. So we only had 377 farmers that did not plant. So that is quickly done.
Wow, those are some amazing numbers, especially since I don't think that you've been active with the partner farmership in Uganda for many years. You started it in what, 2017?
Yeah, that is correct.
So 10,000 farmers since 2017, that is quite amazing. So
don't forget that we were building on our knowledge of Kenya. There is a certain number of ways of doing and a certain number of ambushes that we knew in advance. That helps.
yes, and that goes to testify to the fact that you are a learning organization that focuses truly on learning and spreading that learning. So that's impressive. I would like to know, from your personal standpoint, what are you most proud of regarding these 15 plus years that you've been in business with Better Globe Forestry?
Oh, I think that there are different things I am proud of. The first thing is that we are pioneers. And when you pioneer a project and you, at a certain moment, you can look behind and say, it looks like we're on the right track. I think that is already a good feeling. The second thing is, for me, it's very important that, somehow you start thinking about what have you done with your life. And this is a project where you can say, well, we did something for the people. We made a difference. That is a very, very important factor in human happiness, I believe. At least it is for me. The next thing where I'm very happy and it looks very good is that remember that in the whole of Better Globe, we started, we were 2 and now we are 160. Only Jan and myself are foreigners. So meaning we are training a whole generation of Kenyans and Ugandans to take over, to manage this company and to continue to do the job, which I think is for Africa, for the country here, very important. That these are things to be proud of. Yeah, I think these are the most important.
It's impressive, and it warms my heart to hear that you see and recognize the impact this project, as you say, this company truly is having. So going now, what are the plans for 2020, sort of short term, and then after 2020? Would you mind telling us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. You see, right now, we have always worked on the numbers of trees. We have always made certain to plant the number of trees that we have to plant, and that has been kind of a process that we had to go through. But now that we are more relaxed from that side, we are now more focusing on the quality of the tree, because we have, of course, to be certain that at the end of the course we have trees that are quality. So we will plant a little bit more. Actually, in 2019, 2019, we planted, let me have a look, I have the figure here. We planted 934,117 trees, yeah. But the objective for this year is 688,000. So it is a bit less, but we are going to concentrate much better on the quality of the trees, meaning we are doing research on soil improvement. We are going to put more emphasis on pruning of the trees. We are going to do some thinnings. That means cutting the trees that we believe will not be good. In numbers, that doesn't change, because when we cut a tree, we plant it again. That doesn't matter, but it has to be done. It is a forestry practice. So we have a plate full. Also, this year we are starting a project where we are going to plant moringa, and that is really a very big thing for us. That has to be prepared and managed and planned, and it is so that we have a smooth departure. We continue, of course, to service the plantations that we have. Nyongoro is going strong. We have foreseen to plant about 200,000 trees there this year. But the emphasis again will be more on the quality of the trees, not on the quantity of the trees.
Which is important. And Nyongoro is the other plantation. I visited two of the plantations. I visited Kiambere and then Nyongoro. And it's interesting that you speak about the quality of trees. I just in a separate workshop that I'm in, somebody was talking about, you know, these mass plantations of trees when like India plants, I don't know, 16 million trees in a day or something. I'm just making that up, but a heck of a lot of trees. And somebody else said that that's quite impressive, but only about 40% of those trees actually sort of live. They actually grow. The other ones die off, which sort of makes it interesting to see that what you say here is you are focusing on the quality, which means that the trees that you plant, if they don't take, you cut them down and then you plant another one so that you have the numbers, right? But the quality of it, of course, is what makes it a forestry company. And I wonder, you said that you had then planted roughly 900,000 trees last year, 2019.
That is correct.
How many trees are planted in total ever since you started planting the first tree?
I knew you would ask that. The total is 2,948,285 at the 31st of December 2012.
Excellent. And that was a question we got from Ulf. I know that you have plans for a sawmill and a laboratory. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah. You see, considering the goals and the plans of Better Globe Forestry, we will at a certain moment diversify the way we produce seedlings. We will still continue the traditional ways, but we will have to work to have our own in vitro multiplication facility. In vitro multiplication that allows to produce millions of seedlings in a few years, which we cannot do the traditional ways, but which we will have to do considering the plans of Better Globe and the vision of Better Globe Forestry. So for quite some time, first we did research, and it was not easy. It was a new species. We were together with Kefri, we were together with the University of Nairobi, we were together with the University of Ghent, so that we get a protocol that is workable for the multiplication. Now, everything is ready, the plans are ready, but The land belongs to Kengen, the Kengen Foundation. They are good friends. They are very positive. They are very happy. They want to be part of it. They are very, but still they are the ministry. And the ministry goes at its own pace. That is the problem. So we are ready. The land is being allocated. We are really eager to start because, and even Kengen is eager to start, but there are administrative obstacles like change of land use and things like this, which take their time. But it is definitely the way to go. There is no other way. There is no way back. We have to do that. And we have already the full support of different really specialized partners in this domain. So it's not scary. It is something that we can do in good circumstances. The second, at the same place, at the same land where we have the in vitro multiplication, it is evident that we have to go at a certain moment into processing. But again, processing, we will have to learn everything, not only the technical part, because that is not that difficult. In meaning, there are experts, there are people that can put you on track. But we will have to learn the environment. We will have to learn what is the legal framework, what is allowed today, what is not allowed. What do we have to work at? What are the logistics? How are we going to get all these trees from the farmers up to the processing? There are hundreds of questions that we ask ourselves, and that we need to have the answer between we really go full speed with this processing. Therefore, we want to start at the same time as this in vitro multiplication facility with a sawmill, a dry kiln, a micro processing. Let's say it like this, to learn and to find out what we have to know by the time we are really ready to go. So it is a next step that is very important in the long-term strategy of Better Globe Forestry.
Which is interesting because then it will be like it was now when you started to do partner farming in Uganda. You had already tried it out in Kenya. You'd learned along the way. You had sort of major processes better and more sustainable. And then when you came to Uganda, it flourished. So I hear you saying the same thing with the sawmill. You will sort of start small, play around with it, experiment, try stuff, fail probably at different things, but learn a lot. And then when it's time, you will have a lot of knowledge to build on.
That is a strategy. The same way that Kiambere has been our pilot project for Nyongoro, and even for the farmers, you have to make some mistakes to be on top of the game.
True. So I have a question from Malvan, who asked, who has the ownership of the land where the trees are planted? And this, I'm guessing it might be the plantations, because the partner farmers owns their land, right?
Yeah, it is evident. We as a company, we are not interested in land as such. We are not speculating. We are not doing this kind of things. Kiambere, the land belongs to a parastatal, that is Tana and Ati River Development Authorities. Nyongoro, it is a community ranch where the government is part shareholder, and we make lease agreements with the owners of the land. Lease agreements that can be in different ways and in different length, but that is the spirit. Of course, the farmers, it is their own land, and that is evident, and it is very clear in the contract also that we are absolutely not interested in land. We are looking for land where we can plant our trees. Trees belongs to Better Globe Forestry, not to Better Globe Forestry. They actually belong to the members of Better Globe. We are doing the job in their part. We are not the
Precisely, it's the customers who owns the trees.
Yes.
So I have a question now. We've been speaking for half an hour, and you mentioned a little bit about the curious times we're in. So you sent out a great newsletter telling your customers about what you've been doing to cope with and to manage now with the corona pandemic. But if perhaps everybody didn't read it, would you mind telling us a little bit about how you're navigating in these quite strange times?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm not a field man. I'm mostly in the office, and I'm surrounded by a very good and efficient team of professionals, and we actually have hours and hours of Zoom meetings. Not that we are exaggerating with Zooms, but we have, for example, every Monday a management team meeting where we discuss all the happenings of the past week, and we do the planning for the next week and the coming weeks. That usually takes a whole morning. I have Zoom meetings with the financial teams. I have Zoom meetings with the operational team. I have Zoom meetings with the human resource. I have Zoom meetings with the communications, and I have Zoom meetings with the ITs. All this is happening at distance. We closed the office when the government said, no, you have to stay at home. We never missed one day. We immediately took measures, we took in place, we closed the company, and we started working together. And we have actually several people already told me, but you know, we are more efficient if we have these meetings. We are more to the point. We are better, etc. So, well, there is of course positive and negative in this thing, but we are not stopped in our decision taking, etc. Now, the environment, of course, is very strange. You cannot circulate out of Nairobi. You cannot go to Mombasa. There are a few things, but there are exemptions. So, for example, for a driver, he can go from one side to a side every 2 weeks, which is, I think, to do with something with the corona. You need to renew the authorization. For this, there is a legal process, but it works. On site, the people are working, but there, again, our human resource and the whole stuff, we are very, very particular. People, when they show in the morning, we have thermometers on site. We take the temperature of the people. People have gloves. People have masks. We have really hammered on the social distance, and we are very particular on these things. So we work. It is a bit strange of working, but we have never been stopped, and we will never be stopped, because it is a matter of taking the right decision and explaining the people why it has to happen like this. We are okay.
Excellent. That makes me very happy to hear. When you talk, we have a follow-up question here from Yuan, who says that when you talk about total number of trees, does that include all of the trees that the partner farmers plant?
That includes all the trees that have been planted, both in the plantations and with the partner farmers.
Excellent. So I've heard rumors that you have been thinking about an FSC certification. Would you mind telling us about that? It stands for Forest Stewardship Certification, or a Stewardship Council.
Yeah, that is correct. Well, we are not been thinking, we are actively pursuing it. Actually, we went to the next stage. We have actually a lady who is now taken care of for us, complying to all the requirements of FSC. So meaning we are working on the operational part, we are working on the human resource part, it is a whole booklet. It is like a standard, actually. And yes, we are pursuing that. We are very serious about that because there are two reasons for that. First of all, it is common sense, and it is completely in the line of the vision of Better Globe Forestry, in the sense that it is social entrepreneurship, and FSC is making certain that you adhere to good, correct, sustainable practices in forestry. So for us, that is already a plus. The second thing is that we think about the future. And in future, it is clear that we will have to take decisions in matter of selling trees, maybe not trees in itself, but finished product for export, for which the countries more and more, and correctly, are going to ask, yes, but what is the provenance? Are you sure you're not poaching them from Congo or whatever? So these things are important. It is now that we have to do it, not again when we are in front of the door. We need to have our act together now, and it is beneficial anyway for the company, and by extension, of course, for the people who trust us to know that we are legally in order with everything.
Excellent. And for the Swedish listeners, FSC is a mark that you can find on sort of wood product. You can find it on lawn furniture. You can find it on charcoal that you use for your barbecue. And it's sort of the same sort of setup that the MSC, the Marine Stewardship Council, that you can find on fish that you can buy in the stores. So it is a certification that lets the buyers really know that this tree, in this case, has sort of been growing in a sustainable and resilient way. I have another follow-up question, sort of, I'm jumping back and forth here a bit, from Yuan, who says, is there any risk with the leasing model of the plantations? You know, might the owners decide to drastically increase their fees, for instance?
Well, you know, you can find risk anywhere, but you know, our contracts are really legally binding, and considering that we are dealing with owners in which either the government is completely or part owner, before a lease agreement is signed, it has to go to the ministry, and it has to be endorsed by the ministry, and it also goes through the office of the Attorney General. So meaning we are legally very much in order with that. We don't anticipate this kind of problem. Because don't forget also that where we are planting, the land was underused or not used at all. For example, the ranch in Nyongoro, I believe if we had not been there and started the project of forestry, they might have lost the ranch, because nothing has happened there for 20, 30, 40 years. Because it is in Azal, because they tried cattle and it didn't work, and they tried some other things. It is very difficult. It's a challenge. Not everybody wants to do this. And again, forestry is working with people. I'm not saying that we are big buddies, but we are friends with the people. In the long run, that's how it functions. You can talk to each other. When there is a problem, you can put things on the cable. You can put your point of view, they can put their point of view. It is sound business. So I don't believe that we are going to go into tricky circumstances.
Mm. And thank you for answering that. You mentioned ASAL, ASAL, and just to make sure that everybody understands it, it stands for arid and semi-arid lands, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so those are lands that if nothing is done, they will turn into deserts over time, right? That's what the arid is, it's dry.
Yeah, it is dry, yeah. Especially in Kenya. Uganda, Azal, the norm is a bit different. Azal in Uganda is still very green. but in Kenya, it is really tough.
Mm. So I have a question here from Gustav, who was curious about the moringa tree that you mentioned. What are the advantages of this? Tell us more.
Well, moringa is actually, the idea is that we will have the tree and we are going to use the leaves and put them in processing so that we get powder. And it is a food supplement, actually one of the best in the world, hugely understated. It is something really that, how would I say, for us, once a tree is mature, actually after 3 to 4 months, you can start harvesting. It is in the same line as, you know, we have been looking for cash crops that are sustainable for a quite long time. We have been into jatropha, we have been into mangoes, we have been into acacia, we have been into neem, we have tried really several things, but in the long run, we always got problems. And with the moringa, we believe that we really have a tree that is, first of all, very much adapted on the circumstances. Uganda is already planting a lot of moringa. There is a market which is known. There is a market that is very small and that can really expand with the right knowledge. And it is something that we can take easily in our operations. We have the land, we have the farmers, we have all the possibilities. So we opted to go for the moringa tree as a cash crop.
Interesting. So moringa is a sort of superfood then, if I get it right.
It is a supplement, actually.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah. But they call it superfood. It's acai berries and you know all of this, and the Swedish blueberry is actually also a superfood. But is moringa then a local tree as well? Because I know the tree that you plant a lot of in Kenya is the mukau tree, which is a local tree. Is moringa also local to the areas?
Yeah, it is. It is both local for Uganda, a bit less for Kenya. You know, these are big countries, so it is local for some areas, not for the whole country. But it is local. It is definitely not an imported tree.
Cool. So I have an interesting question from Kerstin, who says, "What's the greatest challenge Better Globe Forestry faces right now?"
Well, one challenge, of course, is that we are pioneering and that we are focusing on something that is going to happen in the future, meaning the same way the people who trust us might ask themselves, yeah, but is this reasonable? I'm putting my money in something that is going only to mature in so long. For us, we are on the other side, so we believe and we hope that we are doing everything that is correct for the right outcome, and we believe we are on track, and we measure, and of course it is not just at random, but that is the big challenge because it has never been done before. So that of course is what we have to live with, at least for the first cycle of trees.
Yeah, that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur, isn't it?
That is true.
So in 2026, it's 20 years from the start of the plantation of Kiambera, when you started to plant the first trees in 2006. That's when those trees are supposed to be cut, and the final installment will be paid out to the owners of those trees. Are the plans holding up? And is there any way that COVID-19 has affected these plans or might affect it?
Absolutely, absolutely not. COVID-19 is affecting the people, not the trees. They are still growing. They are still being planted. They are still being maintained. To be very honest, we are really an industry that is not really affected by this. Yes, our daily workings, we have to find solutions to problems that should not be there. but it doesn't affect the trees, not at all.
Interesting. Sort of a question where my mind goes when we talk about COVID-19 and what that happens is a question that Stefan has asked about the political situation in Kenya and Uganda. Do you get the support that you need from sort of local and state officials?
Well, yes and no, in the sense that, okay, we would be very happy if the state came with a bag of money and said, you know, you guys are doing a great job, here is some to play with. That will not happen. But to be very honest, we are known at all levels of the administration up to the government. We had the visit of the Minister of Environment in our plantation not long ago. We have standing MOUs, memorandums of understanding with the Kenya Forestry Service, with the Kenya Forestry Research Institute, University of Nairobi, University of Eldoret, which is actually very much specialized in forestry, and where we kind of get all most of our stuff from, most of our foresters. We are really integrated in the forestry landscape, and we have all the support. And as you know, support is not only money. Support is also possibilities. Support is also people helping us. It is an administration wanting to help you to bring farmers together and to be present. It is we are sailing actually quite smoothly due to that support. So yes, we have an indirect support.
Interesting. And you are active in Kenya and Uganda at the moment. Are there plans or sort of already steps taken to start to do the same setup in other neighboring countries?
Yes, well, our aim is to do East Africa, meaning Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And right now we are prospecting Tanzania. And actually the door opener is our Miti magazine. The way we started in Uganda, we started with Miti magazine. We created an editorial team of experts in the forestry that brought together the Uganda Forestry Service. This brought together the players in the industry in Uganda. We are now doing this in Tanzania also, and it works very well. People are very enthusiastic. Tanzania is a very, very big country with different climates and with different, but it is definitely certain that we will start in Tanzania also. I will not say 100% next year. It might be, I'm not certain, but definitely the year after.
Excellent. So thank you for that. Emil has a question. Since you have different kinds of trees, you've now talked about the moringa tree, I've mentioned the mukau tree, and I know that there are other trees as well. What's the ratio between these tree types?
Oh, well, the biggest amount of trees. Okay, let me see. I think I have this somewhere. We planted 1,175,716 mukau trees. That is Kenya. And we planted 839,457 mukau.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm guessing that there is somebody out there thinking, how can Jean-Paul know down to sort of the number of one? You have sort of all the, it's not decimals, but you know, you say something, 17 trees. Yeah, how can you know to that extent? Because I don't think that Swedish forestry companies, I don't think that Sveaskog has any clue how many trees they're planting.
No, but that is correct. I mean, in normal forestry environment, foresters talks in volumes, not in number of trees. But of course, considering that we get the money and each tree comes with a value. So we have to account for the number of trees. So we have systems in place for that. We have a system of permanent inventory. Actually, we are counting the whole year. It's just that at the end of the year, we put a stop. We said, now here, 31st of December, we don't count. We go through all the countings and the things. And we say, okay, that is the value. That is also what is agreed then at the end with the auditor. At a few trees, I mean, that doesn't matter. But that is how we do. For this, we have systems in place. We have electronic devices that we use. We have telephone applications. We have different ways, but we are counting all the time our trees. Don't forget also that trees, okay, sometimes they die and they have to be. What we are talking about is trees standing at the end of the year. Meaning, when I give you these figures, we probably planted much more, but some died. But we have a policy of zero mortality, which no forester in the world would ever talk about. But for us, it is important. Zero mortality, it means that when a tree dies, within the year, another one has to be planted, so that we always have the numbers. And that obliges us to be vigilant and to really know what we are doing and checking and monitor and do all the necessary.
Interesting, and I like that zero mortality thing. So Philip has a question here about the number of trees planted and whether or not that number is in line with the number of trees sold.
Yeah, because I think, let me see, I think we exceed the number of trees sold right now. Let me see if I have this. Yeah. What gave Lawrence here? Yeah. The number of trees expected standing at the 31st of December is last year was 2,498,000, roughly 2.5 million, and we have 2.9 million standing. So we are okay. We are on track.
You are on track. That's great to hear. In the Swedish news, a little bit of the locust swarms news has hit us. Not a lot, but there's been a little bit of news flash here and a news flash there. How has this affected Better Globe and the trees and the partner farmers, if it has affected it?
Well, there we were very lucky because the locusts came massively. They landed in the plantation. We had a carpet of 10 centimeters on top of our muka trees. They were there for, let's say, 10, 12 hours, and then they went. Insects do not like muka tree. Muka trees have inside their system an insect repellent component. And that is something that we are working very seriously with on a project with the University of Nairobi, with Kenya Forestry and the Research Institute, and with the University of Ghent in Belgium. We have a project financed by the Belgian Flemish government, by the VLIR, the Flemish Inter-University Council, where we do research on that component. And we are actually very far. We know that there is a component, it has been tested. Now it has to be fine-tuned in such a way that it can either be done in an industrial way, it can be produced in an industrial way, but we are more interested to produce an insect repellent that we can give to the farmers, because that will help them for their crop also. So we were happy that the locusts came to the muka, because there nature has shown us that we were on track with our thinking, because all the rest was theory, it was laboratory work. But now nature showed this, so we were very happy.
Well, I'm so thrilled to hear that, because I understand that people who didn't have Macau then probably had some issues with it. But we have a question here also from Ulf, who says he would like to know more about Better Globe Forestry thoughts on when you start to fell the trees, take them down, and what you will be doing with the timber after that.
No, it has to go in processing, and the processing will happen in Kenya or in Uganda. It has to happen on the spot. Don't forget that we have a vision of poverty eradication. So if we set up an industry, if we set up a sawmill, and whatever processing will come out of that sawmill, it will happen on the spot. It will happen here.
Which is nice to hear, because I think that's one of sort of the African continent's biggest hurdles or problems has been that it's such a rich country on raw material, and then the raw materials leave the continent and are refined elsewhere, and that's sort of where the profit gain is.
That's correct.
So what type of goods or use can you have from the Macau trees?
Yeah, well, we are still working on quite some research, and we are processing in small quantities some objects that are done by carpenters and people who process the thing. It has to be something that is compact so that it can be exported. It has to be something. We believe that with this Muka, we have all the possibilities to deliver product to a niche market, not a huge market, but a niche market with some good prices. Probably there will be 2 lines, maybe 3. First one is this kind of project, high value, compact, for export. A second line probably with a second quality, a lesser quality for a local market, maybe doors, chairs, tables, this kind of thing. And then you know that in every industry we go up to the last of the last, meaning we will have to find out what to do with the rejects and how can they be worked out, which we have some ideas also, but they have to be tested. So we are really eager for that sawmill again, so that we kind of learn more about that also.
Excellent. I have another question here from Gustav. Do you feel confident that Better Globe Forestry will be able to meet the promises on buyback from the customers of the trees?
Oh yes, I'm very confident. You know, we are not alone. Don't forget we have a chairman who is Reno, who is working on different income streams for the trees, etc. Like any industry is doing. We are going to fulfill our contract in matters of numbers of trees, quality, etc. The finances by that time, I'm very confident that it will be okay.
Excellent. So we only have 2 more minutes to go. I have a final question to you, and that is, what would you wish that people knew about Better Globe?
Well, I wish that more people knew that we are doing a job that is not only, would I say, financial, but it is also fulfilling. I would also like more people to come and visit us, because I think I can give a lot of explanation, but seeing is believing. And you know, don't forget one thing: we appreciate very much the trust you put in us as members, because it is not evident to send money on a monthly basis 6,000 miles away to a bunch of people that you don't know, telling you that we are planting trees, but what is all this? We would like to to encourage people to come and visit us. Not only just to, I can of course talk a lot of good things about Better Globe Forestry, but you should come and see. And, you know, this year we unfortunately the trip will not happen because of the Corona issue. But as a premiere, I can tell you, with the team, we are working on a virtual trip. You're going to have a certain number of a series of things. We are going to drive with the car, film the hotel where normally you sleep, do the plantation. You will have an interview of Jan in the plantation, an explanation, like yourself, Helena, you have got when you were there. It doesn't replace the real stuff, but at least it will be something that we can offer to you.
That has me have bumps, you know, shivers all over, because that, I think, would make such a big difference, because that's what happened to me when I went down there a year ago. When I first came in the bus up to the Canberra plantation and met this wall of trees, it totally moved me in a way I did not know. So thank you, Jean-Paul, so much for spending an hour of your evening together with us. For everybody who's listening, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for all the questions you asked. And I know that there are many, many questions that we did not have the time to bring up. So maybe, Jean-Paul, I could invite you to do a sort of a rain check on this thing in the fall sometime.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I can do something else. Huh? First of all, let me first say something. We in Better Globe Forestry, and I say we, that is the whole team, we are very much aware of the work you guys are doing there up in Scandinavia, and we really appreciate. We are thankful, and we are very, very happy to be the executioners of this trust. Thank you for that. A second thing is, I'm hearing myself saying here because I'm giving myself work, but I see a lot of questions here, which we cannot address now. We have time, but anyway, it is okay. What I will ask you, Helena, if you have the possibility, make a summary of all these questions, because some probably are the same or kind of the same, and you send them to info@betterglobeforestry.com. And I will make certain that myself or anybody in the team that is qualified to give the answers, answer your questions.
Excellent. I will make sure that we do that. So thank you, Jean-Paul. Thank you, everybody who's listened. This is me, Helena Roth, signing off from Jan's basement. Bye.
Bye.